Happy Wednesday, television family. Thanks for starting your day with us here on the NCW Live channel. This is Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. I am Dan Kuntz, your host, closing in on my 11th anniversary here at the Broadcast Metroplex. Is coming up in the next couple weeks. Looking forward to that. We'll be issuing a commemorative coin, by the way. It's mild. 46 degrees here in the big city. Very warm yesterday. We hit 64. Not a record high, but pretty close. And this warm weather going to continue. We've talked about this for the last few days. There's a ginormous ridge of high pressure just off the coast of Santa Barbara down in Southern California. It's high pressure. It spins clockwise. It's grabbing all that warm air and it's bringing it right up to us. And it's going to do it again for the rest of the week. And then we cool down on the weekend. Weather forecast is coming up. All in all, pretty quiet except the unseasonably warm temperatures. More snow melt up in the Cascades, especially on all the snow. All the Cascades are going to see significant snow melt. You add the additional rain in the forecast for Stevens Pass. I-90 is going to get a little bit of rain too. Not as much as Stevens. The area, rivers and streams and creeks are going to get pretty swollen by the end of the week. Details coming up, news, lots, sports, Kraken, ouch. They spotted Tampa Bay 3 goals right out of the box, and then they try to make a game of it, but we'll have highlights anyway, plus prep sports action. And in the back half of the program, the first of a 2-part conversation I had with the chief of the Wenatchee Police Department, Edgar Reinfeld, also the interim city administrator. We'd like to talk cops and robbers with the chief about once a quarter. And so I got together with the chief and I said, "You want to talk shop?" And he said, "Sure." So you're going to learn a lot. It was a great conversation. In fact, it was so good that we stretched it into 2 parts. You'll see part 1 today, part 2 tomorrow with Chief Reinfeld. Here we go. Cameras around the valley. Here's what we have on this 46-degree day. Very mild, very little wind. Mixture of clouds and sky. That's our Wenatchee Heights PTZ camera. PTZ acronym. We can pan it. We can tilt it. We can zoom it. It's a beautiful, wonderful thing. And there is the valley. There's Malcolm zooming in right there. Yesterday at this time, there were still some remnants of snow on Badger and Birch. That's all but gone. There was still a little bit of snow, as you see there, on the north-facing slopes. You don't get direct sunlight, but even that will be long gone by the end of the day today. It's set on up to Hay Canyon. Of course, people have asked me, and for those of you who may have missed it before, Hay Canyon, high above Kashmir, was named after the pioneering family that first settled in that area, the Canyon family. First lived up Hay Canyon years and years ago. Let's go to Valley High. There we go, is Blewett Pass. That's the DOT operations shed about in the middle of your screen. As you can see, the snow continues to melt there, kind of a misty, foggy morning up on Blewett Pass. That's not going to last very long at all. And finally, the Arando Rock camera. Lake Antioch, Turtle Rock. You got the Clockham, you got Mission Ridge off there in the distance. You can make out a little bit anyway, of Rocky Reach Dam on this Wednesday morning. Here's a general outlook of what we can expect for the rest of the week and into the weekend. For you folks out in the basin, Ephrata's already at 51, Moses Lake's already at 52. You're going to be close to 70 degrees today, which for this time of the year, the middle of March, is pretty darn rare. We're not going to get that warm here in the valley, but plenty mild for this time of the year. We're going to be well above normal today, Thursday, and Friday. By the time we get to the weekend, however, we will cool down to about normal, maybe even a little bit below normal, but we're going to have a lot of sunshine, at least here in the Wenatchee Valley, on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. The long-term forecast, by the way, calls for maybe a little bit of snow returning to the mountains by the middle of next week. From our friends at Colonial Vista Senior Living in Wenatchee, it's where comfort, care, and community come together. 30% chance of rain, nothing big, nothing heavy, and not really a big chance at that. Under partly sunny skies, we'll get up to around 63 late in the day today. Chance of rain tonight remains right about 30%. It'll be cloudy. 48 for the overnight low. We'll be right around 62 or 63 again on Thursday. Thursday is going to be a carbon copy of today. Friday, not so much. We're going to have clouds on Friday. Could see some morning rain, but a high of 61. Friday night is when we make that transition as the high pressure ridge begins to move a little bit farther away. That's going to allow a cold front to seep down from Canada, and all it's really going to do is scour out the skies and cool us down. I'll take sunshine at 53 and sunshine at 54 and sunshine at 54 for the weekend. All right. That's your forecast. We're going to take a quick break. Won't take us long, just a couple of minutes. So grab your cup of coffee. Come right back. We'll do the news. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Live channel.
Hi, I'm Amanda Walden with A. Walden Insurance Group. Medicare can be overwhelming, but you don't have to figure it out alone. I've been helping people understand their Medicare options for over a decade. Medicare isn't a one-size-fits-all. I'll help you understand your coverage options so you can feel confident in your decisions. Let's find the right Medicare plan for you. Call me today or come and see me at my office located on South Chelan Avenue in Wenatchee between the YMCA and the Social Security office. I look forward to meeting you soon.
The Moses Lake National RV Show is happening now through Sunday, March 22nd at the Grant County Fairgrounds. Shop hundreds of RVs. Receive huge discounts. Exclusive show-only pricing. Prices this low will only be available at the National RV Show at the Grant County Fairgrounds. Manufacturer reps are on site stacking additional savings. No payments for 120 days on approved credit. Free admission. Free parking. Plus, shop like a VIP and receive an additional $1,000 off. Learn more at nationalrvshowmoseslake.com.
Fibercrete fireproof safety rooms can be the difference between life and death for you and your family. Typical fireproof safety rooms are 8x8 Fibercrete panels providing a solid sanctuary. Fibercrete safety rooms can be above ground, buried underground, or built within new home construction. Best of all, a safety room by Fibercrete is very affordable. Call 360-770-2088. You owe it to your family to find out more about Fibercrete safety rooms.
At Colonial Vista Senior Living, we believe life is meant to be lived fully. Our wellness programs inspire residents to stay strong, flexible, and confident every day. Here, curiosity is encouraged, friendships are nurtured, and every activity is an opportunity to connect, create, and enjoy life together. We invite you to experience the lifestyle at Colonial Vista Senior Living for yourself and discover why so many call our community home.
It's a very warm Wednesday morning, 46. Will be about 63 today, about half clouds and half sun. We do it all over again on Thursday. We're going to cloud up on Friday, but it's still going to be very warm. Lots of sunshine and considerably cooler by the time we get to the weekend. Almost 8 minutes after the hour, we've been reporting, of course, on the weekend death of Casey Jo Emery of Chelan. She was the one who died Saturday after the SUV she was a passenger in struck the rear of an ambulance on Highway 97A. Our news director, Rick Boone, spoke with Ballard Ambulance Director Sean Ballard and Mike Battis about the effect this tragedy has had on their emergency team.
Yes, this week we've been following the crash, the fatal crash involving Casey Emery, the 24-year-old Chelan woman who was killed in a vehicle crash. The vehicle ran in back of an ambulance. We earlier talked to her family on the air and in Wenatchee World newspaper this week, while that ambulance company that was involved in the wreck is now speaking to us as well. Here's their side of this story from their perspective in their own words.
Well, it's tragic, to start with. Somebody lost their life. And, and on the other side of it, it's hard on our guys, because they were responding out to help somebody. And then, all of a sudden, they turn into victims and then right back around in less than 60 seconds and they end up being rescuers. So it's, it's something, we respond to calls like this all the time, but most of the time it never involves something like this where we actually become part of the accident or, part of the scene.
What can you all say about being part of this scene, like what led up to it and how it happened and then what happened after?
So we got a call, a 911 call just north of Aniat for a psychiatric emergency. The crew was responding to that. It was about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. They were responding in an emergent mode, so they had their emergency lights activated, sirens as needed. As they were traveling northbound, they were going about 65 miles per hour, so just a little bit over the posted speed limit. There was a little bit of wind that the drivers reported, so they didn't feel like they wanted to push it too hard. As you can see, the apparatus that we drive are pretty big, so they're a little bit cumbersome, and they just were being extra cautious, trying to make sure that they arrive safely. One of the things we always preach is, you got to arrive to the scene safely to help somebody. You can't become a victim on the way there. And that's why we spend so much time with drivers training and things like that to make sure that our crews are able to be there in an appropriate manner and to help to solve the crisis that's unfolding in front of them. As they were approaching the turn off from the highway, they began to slow to turn right off the highway when they were rear-ended by the other vehicle. They got hit pretty hard. We've got dash cam in the vehicle. We've got a very sophisticated recording system that's in there that measures like G forces and things like that. The accident was measured at over 5 Gs when they were rear-ended. This rig the rig that they were in was about a 14,000 pound vehicle, and it actually picked it up in the back end of it up in the air and spun it a complete 180 degrees.
Were the lights on the ambulance?
Oh yeah. So they were fully lit, and these new vehicles have light packaging on that you can just see for miles, and so and the lights not only on the front and the side, but you can really visible from the rear end. So multiple lights going flashing back and forth.
And I'd say even in addition to that, like most of the new first out apparatus that we have, we spend the extra time and money to put reflective striping on the back. There's chevrons there too, so they're very, very visible, almost to the point of being, they catch your eye for sure. When I approached the accident, as a secondary unit, as a supervisor coming in, I mean, I could see where the incident was for miles.
Yeah. Both of us responded out to the incident, and we're there for hours, along with the crew and stuff like that. And again, you could see, I mean, I was miles down the road, and you could see the emergency lights easily.
So what happens next in this? Is it an investigation in your company? What happens next?
So our crew, we've reviewed the tapes, and they did a flawless job of driving, just exactly within the parameters we have. They, we're going the correct speed. There's nothing that we see that they did anything wrong. Now it's just an investigation with the State Patrol, and on their side of, what happened with the other vehicle.
One of the nice things with that, we have dash cams in the vehicle. Well, we have an outbound facing camera as well as an inbound. And the inbound sees both the driver and the front seat passenger. It also picks up audio. So we were able to analyze their entire response to this. The entire way there, in 20 plus miles of a response, they didn't have a speed over 70 miles per hour. The driver was 10 and 2, both hands on the wheel, looking out, non-distracted the entire way out. The front seat passenger is navigating. In 0.3 miles, you're going to take a right, start slowing down here. So they're talking, they're both paying attention, and unfortunately, things happen.
Okay.
And now our focus right now for us is just making sure that the crew is healthy, both mentally and physically. We just proactively took them into the hospital, had them checked out. Both of them were a little stiff and sore, a little whiplash. They got x-rayed and scanned and all that, and came out of there, relatively unscathed. And
we will continue to follow this story on air and online on WenatcheeWorld.com and NCWLife.com. In Chelan County, Rick Boone, NCW Life News.
East Wenatchee Mayor Gerald Crawford and Wenatchee Mayor Mike Poyer teamed up for a State of the City's community meeting yesterday at Wenatchee City Hall. It was St. Patrick's Day, so Gerald gave Mike a scratch ticket just in case he was feeling the luck of the Irish. And the State of the City's event, hosted by the Wenatchee Valley Chamber of Commerce. Crawford used to work there. It was part of its Coffee and Commerce series. Chamber Director Steve Wilkinson asked the mayors to showcase the highlights of what each city was able to achieve last year.
It was a year that we put a lot of energy into our budget. The previous years leading up to 2025, we were recognizing some shortfalls in revenues. Expenses were climbing pretty significantly, and we took 2025 as an opportunity to really dig in deep and find out what we could do to protect the budget for the future. So we were able to do that. We ended 2025 in the black, which was refreshing, but it came with a little bit of a pinch and a little bit of some challenges. Our revenues have been flatlining over the last few years, and like I said, the expenses have been increasing, and the expenses were things that were really out of our control, like liability insurance, the cost of housing folks at the jail, things that we have to do, but we don't get control over how much those things are going to cost. The police department, the biggest news in 2025, really super proud of our team. We became accredited in 2025, which is huge. Yeah, that deserves a round of applause. Chief Johnson, he's been with us for a little over 5 years, and that as soon as he came on board, he was like, we're going to be an accredited agency. And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, we'll be an accredited long after I'm gone, and he's gone, and he'll set the stage. But him and his team got it done, and it is a big deal. It means that we are doing best practices for a police department. So you can be really proud of what they're out there doing. They're highly trained. The policies are on track. Was it 100% we passed that accreditation? 100%. So super proud of the team.
Confluence Parkway is the biggest thing. Again, shout out to Senator Gaynor. He's supportive of this. He kept him and other people, but I'm going to just say him, kept our $35 million into play this year. I think it was $35 million into play this year to be able to continue on for our Confluence Parkway, which was promised to us, but as you guys should know, it's promised to you, but then you gotta make sure you're going the right pace. We got to make sure we're on right timing, the right on budget, and that's an important issue. So it is a great shout out to Senator Gaynor to continue.
We have 4 Coffee and Commerce events on a quarterly basis. This is one of what we call the State of the Cities. It gives an opportunity for people to come and engage with our mayors, to learn what the mayors of the city of East Wenatchee and Wenatchee, the successes, the challenges they've had in the past year, but also looking ahead. What are the opportunities and what are the obstacles that they face in the next year, as well as how as we as a community can help them be successful. We have a wonderful community because we all, I would say, are very collaborative. We're working together and we have a mission or a vision, and that is a great quality life for all.
East Wenatchee City Hall was briefly closed Monday night after a suspicious briefcase prompted a bomb squad investigation. The East Wenatchee Police Department says a night janitor discovered the briefcase on the ground next to an outside storage building door on the City Hall campus at about 6:40 Monday night. The Washington State Patrol bomb squad team showed up. They x-rayed the briefcase and said didn't pose a threat. Investigators say they'd still like to find out why the item was deposited there. Authorities are asking anybody with information to get a hold of the East Wenatchee Police Department. Okanagan County has begun the search for a new sheriff. Of course, the old sheriff, Paul Boudreau, resigned a couple of weeks ago to take his old job as the police chief in Twisp. Boudreau was elected to the county post as a Republican just over 3 years ago, and his first term doesn't end until the end of this year. The Okanagan County Republican Party has to supply the names of the 3 candidates to county commissioners, and the Central Committee wants candidates to apply by Friday. State law requires that the commissioners pick a new sheriff appointee from among the party's choices. 2 candidates from within the department, Deputy Gisberth Gonzalez and Chief Criminal Deputy Jody Barkas, have announced that they'll campaign for the office this year. And the partial shutdown of the federal government has left employees at TSA without a paycheck, and a local charity is trying to pick up the slack. Mike Melman, who of course runs Serve Wenatchee, says donors can supply gift cards to TSA workers at Pangmore Memorial Airport by dropping them off to the Serve Wenatchee office. Cards should be usable for gas and groceries, denominations of $10 or $20. Any donated cards can be dropped off at the agency's temporary office on North James in East Wenatchee anytime from 9 to noon, and then again from 1:30 to 4:30 in the afternoon through tomorrow of this week. And that's the news. At 19 minutes after the hour, the news will come your way tonight. At 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 10 o'clock, the NCW Life Evening News, so you can stay in the loop. 5, 6, and 10 on television, on YouTube right around 5 o'clock. And if you look at the screen, you can see all the different platforms we are on. And don't forget to send us an email for news tips, news at ncwlife.com. Quick 1-minute break and then sports. You're watching Wake Up in Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life channel.
Your favorite local channel is now available for free on your smart TV and connected streaming devices. Watch live programming and catch up with the latest shows on demand. See the local stories that matter to you. NCW Life, now on Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV.
This March, Lake Chelan welcomes food and wine lovers to an unforgettable experience. Taste Chelan. Chelan Valley's top wineries and restaurants create the perfect pairing of fine wines and culinary delights. With 4 weekends to explore, every visit offers something fresh and exciting. From your first sip to the last bite, every moment is a delicious adventure. But don't wait, tickets are selling fast. Visit tastechelan.com today. Sports at 21 after the hour. Nikita Kucherov scored 3 goals. That's a hat trick. Also added 2 assists. Tampa Bay, no real problems with the Kraken last night. 6-2 the final at Climate Pledge Arena. Bobby McMahon and Jared McCann, Bobby McMahon and Jared McCann, no relation. They scored for the Kraken, who are now tied with the Kings at 71 points for the final playoff spot in the West.
Looking for a target. It's Braden Point. Deking. And he's poke checked by Stevenson. Jared McCann checked hard along the wall. Gage Gonsalves creates the turnover. Point in front. They score! Gonsalves off the give and go. And the Lightning have a 1-0 lead.
Saskatchewan, Canada.
Colby's just well connected.
Yeah, that's what it is. He's just finding all the prairie guys to connect with.
I'd say one of the better things is his skating.
Steal by Kucherov. It'll get a return pass from Hagel. What a beautiful goal. Nikita Kucherov buries it. He and Hagel link up to make it 2-0 Tampa Bay.
For us, our structure, but for us, it's 4 lines. It's 3 D pairs that have to play well.
Comes Tampa Bay again, and it's Kucherov again. This time from Cirelli. 2 goals for Nikita Kucherov and a 3 spot for Tampa Bay.
Seattle caught on a line change, right? They get the puck up the far side of the ice.
McMahon with the answer. And the spark that Seattle needed comes in the way of Bobby McMahon to get the Kraken on the board.
He knows his role is massively important. Look at him turn away from Kucherov off the draw. And this time it's McMahon coming in with the pressure. This is a great effort by Beniers. We talked at the top of the show about this shot that McMahon has. Heads up, and look at that. He goes top shelf that he brings. He says, you know, it's great. It also takes a lot of energy. And for them not ending up with the win after all of that.
One shot on goal, and the power play expires, and McCann drives in and scores. Tied with the LA Kings, they're 1 point up on San Jose, who lost to Edmonton, so an opportunity to gain some separation here for the Kraken. For the final wild card spot, a steal by Hagel on Beniers, centering pass for Kucherov. They score! Anthony Cirelli. And now Hagel down the middle with Kucherov on the flank. Long pass, Gonsalves back across. They score! Another beauty! And another point for Kucherov. As this puck will hit McCann, and Kucherov with an empty net on the other end will convert the hat trick and make it a 5-point night.
The Kraken now embark on their longest road trip of the season. They'll be in Nashville to take on the Predators tomorrow night. They won't play again in Seattle until April 2nd. Mariners had split squad games yesterday. They stayed home, hosted the Brewers, lost that one. They went on the road, so to speak, and beat the Rockies. So actually they lost to the Padres. They beat the Rockies in games that don't count. They'll take on the Brewers today. It'll be streaming on Mariners TV. Prep baseball scoreboard, a lot of blowouts yesterday. Take a look at how your local team did. Most of the games pretty lopsided. It happens this time of the year. They're still shaking out the cobwebs. Prep soccer scoreboard much closer. Wenatchee went on the road, lost to Issaquah. Moses Lake over Othello, Cashmere, and Cascade tied The games are non-league games, so they don't risk injuries in overtime. What's the point? Omak over Liberty Bell and Chelan by Natchez Valley. On the pitch, and the prep softball scoreboard looks something like that. And again, kind of like baseball, you have a tendency to have a lot of blowouts this time of the year. It's early, and those are just some of the games that people are playing at 25 minutes after the hour. This is the flag of Aruba. Aruba is on my bucket list of places I want to visit because from what I understand, the weather in Aruba is about as perfect as any place in the world. The reason why, it's National Anthem and Flag Day in Aruba. That's all I got for you. That's it. That's National Flag Day in Aruba. Sometimes there's just not interesting, obscure holidays. Today in history, a friendly reminder that, yeah, part of the Revolutionary War was us doing our thing, and half of it was the British screwing up. And here's an example of the British screwing up. On this date in 1766, the British Parliament actually repealed the Stamp Act, almost exactly 1 year after the Stamp Act was imposed. Of course, no taxation without representation. That was hammered into our head when we were kids. This is the first time that all the colonies got together for a joint resolution against the king and the Parliament. There was still a lot of infighting among the colonists, but they kind of unified them around the Stamp Act. The British got rid of it a little too late. Happy birthday to the Stanley Cup. 134 years ago today, Lord Stanley pledges to donate a cup to whichever team is named the best team in Canada. That's the top of the cup. It's still the top of the cup. It's gotten considerably bigger. The Stanley Cup is the oldest existing trophy to be awarded to a professional sports team in North America. They didn't do the Stanley Cup in 1919 because of the Spanish flu, and they didn't do it in the 04-05 season because they didn't play hockey at all. There was a lockout. 46 years ago today, back in the old days of the Soviet Union, March 18th, 1980, Soviet crews were filling up a rocket full of gasoline 2 hours before it was supposed to launch. The rocket exploded on the launch pad. 44 people were killed instantly. 4 others would die from burns a short time later. Nobody found out about it. The Soviet news agency TASS reported to the people of the Soviet Union, "We had a successful rocket launch." They didn't tell anybody that nearly 50 people got killed. It would not become public. It's kind of a hard thing to keep secret until 1989, but that's what you could do back when the government owns the press. And finally, the largest art theft in this country's history happened in the wee small hours of March 18th, 1990. Most of the city of Boston were sleeping off their hangover from St. Paddy's Day. 2 guards admitted 2 men who were dressed as police officers. They came to a back door at the museum, said, "We got a disturbance call." And the 2 security guards let in the 2 fake cops, and once they got inside, the fake cops tied up the guards and had at it for about 45 minutes. By the way, they cut some of the artwork. I mean, we're talking Rembrandt. We're talking some pretty significant artwork. For the paintings, they simply cut them out of the frames, and the frames are still hanging in the museum. Just in case they ever get them back. They haven't gotten them back yet. It's been 36 years. The Isabella Gardner Museum was stole. The art theft was on this date. By the way, nobody's been arrested. They don't know where the art is. If you have any idea, you might want to get a hold of them. The reward is $10 million. That's nothing to sneeze at. One birthday. We always do presidents. Grover Cleveland, both the 22nd and 24th president of the United States, the first man in American history to serve 2 non-consecutive terms in office. And alongside Woodrow Wilson, one of only 2 Democrats elected president in the 72 years between 1860 and 1932. He had a very quick rise. In a period of just 3.5 years, he was elected the mayor of Buffalo and then the governor of New York and then the presidency within 3.5 years. That's pretty impressive. He barely won the presidency in the presidential election of 1884. He carried New York State by 528 votes, which gave him the presidency. That was pretty close. When he was the sheriff of Erie County, it was up to him to execute people who were condemned to be executed. And if he didn't want to do it, he had to pay a $10 fine to have somebody else do it. Well, he was cheap. He wouldn't pay the $10 fine. So he may be the only president that I know of that actually executed 2 people. That's pretty crazy. Was accused of fathering a child out of wedlock during the 1884 presidential campaign. He denied actually being the father of the child, but he did pay child support. He was the only president to get married in the White House. The only president to get married in the White House. His bride, Frances Folsom, was the daughter of his law partner. She was 11 when her dad died, and so Grover Cleveland became Frances's legal guardian. Then they ended up getting married. He was 49. She was 21, but they had 5 kids. There you go. For Heat and Air, call Alpine Air. For Heat and Air, call Alpine Air. They are our platinum sponsor. Got a brand new logo, but their outstanding award-winning service remains unabated. For Heat and Air, call Alpine Air. Mike Minotti is going to celebrate a milestone opinion on this very television program, and then the first of a 2-part conversation, a don't miss conversation. I learned a lot. You will too. The chief of the Wenatchee Police Department, Edgar Reinfeld, joins me when we come back. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life channel.
NCW Life Channel is your local TV station. We believe in being the spotlight and mirror to the communities we serve in North Central Washington. Programming on NCW Life would not be possible without our sponsors. Special thanks to our platinum sponsor, Alpine Air. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Alpine Air.
Between juggling groceries, preparing meals, and lending a helping hand, you're a hero without a cape. But who's there to support you? Aging and Adult Care honors caregivers like you, the relatives, friends, and neighbors, helping loved ones remain safely at home. Aging and Adult Care offers chore services, respite, personal care, and more. Serving Chelan, Douglas, Grant, Lincoln, Adams, and Okanagan counties, call Aging and Adult Care at 1-800-572-4459 for caregiver support.
We've all dreamt of moving somewhere new. But what are home prices like? How are the schools? What are the state income taxes? And how's the weather? For all your questions, the Coldwell Banker Move Meter has answers. It's the only tool that lets you compare cities by cost and quality of living, so you can get a better idea of what your dream looks like and start making it come true. The Move Meter, only from Coldwell Banker. Live well with Coldwell.
This is Mike Mad Dog Magnotti, and everybody is entitled to my opinion. When NCW Life came on the air in 2016, Dan Kuntz started his show, Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. Dan asked me to do this bit called Everyone's Entitled to Mike Mad Dog Magnotti's Opinion, and I've been doing it ever since. I recently checked and estimated that I have given my opinion on over 300 different topics. Who possibly could be filled with that much hogwash that he thinks it's interesting enough to share? I don't know if I want to answer that one. This is Mike Mad Dog Magnotti, and that's my opinion.
I'm Jen Mueller. Watch for my show, I Cook, You Measure on NCW Life. It's part cooking instruction, part entertainment, and all about connecting over food and wine with your favorite Northwest athletes.
Watch I Cook, You Measure with Jen Mueller Mondays at 1, Wednesdays at 2, Fridays at 11 a.m., and Saturday and Sundays at 10:30 p.m. right here on the NCW Life channel. Highlander Golf Course and Grill, your place for fun, food, and friends. Happy hour every day, 2 to 7. Try their brand new menu and famous prime rib every Saturday night. Planning a celebration? Book your holiday party, wedding, or private event, even in their exclusive simulator rooms. Highlander Golf Course and Grill, where every day is a celebration. Visit today.
Welcome to Mountain Chick Floral, your go-to flower and plant shop in downtown Wenatchee. Explore their wide variety of unusual and fun plants. And when you buy a plant in a container, they'll pot it up for you absolutely free. Birthday or weddings, they'll create the perfect floral arrangement for you. Brighten up your office with fresh blooms delivered to your door or business. Ask about floral subscriptions. Visit Mountain Chick Floral today, where every occasion is a reason to celebrate with flowers.
News, weather, and sports. It's all here weekdays at 5, 6, and 10 on your local news source, the NCW Life Channel.
Welcome back to the program. When Chief Reinfeld from the Wenatchee Police Department and Wenatchee City Administrator de jure and I got together, I thought it was just a couple of weeks ago or maybe a month ago, and then I went back into my calendar, Chief, and I said, you and I, and we decided we wanted to make this kind of like a quarterly little update on law enforcement and other things on Chief's desk. And I thought it was just, maybe late January. It was November, middle of November, the last time you and I got together.
It's funny, when you brought this up the other day and we talked about doing this again, it seemed like it was middle of January probably, and instead it turns out it was November, so I don't know.
I think it's because we're both really busy.
Could be.
You more than me. Who's kidding who? Let's get a quick little update on where we are. You are the interim city administrator. Yes. You got a little bump in pay from the city council a couple of weeks ago, but that is still, the search continues, and we talked about this last time. This is an important job, and the right person has to be hired, and until that right person has presented themselves and gets the gig, you have no problem continuing wearing two hats.
No, I don't have a problem doing it. It's important things that have to be done. There's a lot of there's a silly amount of day-to-days, and the funniest thing is, like, depending on what hiring approval happens, I have to approve it as the chief, and then it comes back. And then the first time it happened, I called somebody and I said, why is it asking me to sign for it? You can already sign for it. Did something change? They're like, no, you just have to do it twice. I'm like, okay, that's fine. We can do that. It was a police department hire. No, I don't have a problem continuing to do it. It's the scope of work it's a lot, and it's a lot of things. Sometimes it's some different meetings that keep happening. It's some different things like that go on with it. But you're exactly correct. Until we find the right fit, the right person that meets everything the city needs, the mayor needs, the council's going to agree with, we're not going to rush. We continue to review. We continue to interview. I believe we've got another one coming up here any day to look at another potential candidate, and we'll see if they are the right fit or the right person for this. If so, great. Then I will go back to having one job with the city, which would be lovely. Or if they're not, then I'll continue doing two jobs for the city for the time being.
It should be pointed out for you folks who don't get a chance to look at the city council packet that they have to go through every other week. Some of these packets are 200, 250 pages long, and yeah, some of it gets the minutiae gets in there pretty good. Yeah, this is Public Works and this is Parks and Rec, but that's still something that you got to wade through on a regular basis. That's a lot of stuff.
It is, and it's a lot of homework. It's a lot of material, and sometimes I read all of it in great detail. Some of it, the things I hate the most are the boilerplate legal contracts. You start looking at them. Well, they matter. You do need to look, but you'll see an agreement that's 35 pages, and the sad thing is that 35 pages, 32 of which are probably exactly the same as 7 other contracts that we may have looked at, but the 3 really matter, and so you do have to check on it. It just the other day, it's all the legislation that's just passing right now. It's the legislative session is closed. All this legislation has fallen out. Some of it is written every legislative session, basically codified. Like, here's the changes it makes in a revised code of Washington, RCW, and a law. And as cops, we deal with RCW all the time. You look at it, you understand what they're trying to do. And then there are others that create new RCW and they haven't been codified, so you wade through the depths of legal language trying to understand what the RCW that will look like, that will impact our work, to then understand how to even apply it. And that's where, so grateful that we have a city attorney to do these reviews and to kind of help me and help all of us understand a little bit better what some of this means, because some of it is extremely confusing.
Danielle seems to know what she's doing too, I might add that.
Absolutely, she is phenomenal. We are so lucky to have her. She breaks down a lot of these issues into the smallest, like most digestible pieces possible, so that we can really move forward and do something.
Well, speaking of legislature, the short session came to an end not long ago, and we talked about how some of the stuff that gets passed and will maybe eventually get signed by Governor Ferguson into law lands in your desk. Flock cameras comes up immediately. You pull the plug on them early December here in the, not pulled the plug on them, so to speak, but you found yourself back in December awash in images and data and stuff from all the flock cameras that are around the Wenatchee Valley, 8 or 9 of them, I think the last I checked in the city of Wenatchee. They passed a bill, it was a Senate bill, passed by the House, it's on Governor Ferguson's desk, changes the rules quite a bit, probably to the benefit of law enforcement, so you can keep using it as a tool without getting awash in paperwork. Talk about the bill. Again, as of today, it has not been signed into law, but Governor Ferguson has indicated he'll probably sign it.
I think he will sign it as well. It's interesting, when it first came up as a Senate bill, the proposed bill was not workable for us. We just would have had him come back and take him down and worked our way out of our contract with them, which goes for 1 more year. Instead, great credit to WASPIC, the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs, lobbyists, and our policy folks who work with the legislature, and to the Senate sponsor who came up with a bill that was really unworkable for us, and instead made amendments and adjustments that made it possible that we can actually work with this. So as of today, this is one of those where I read the bill and think, what's it going to look like in RCW? It's a little bit hard to see, but the basic provisions that we've seen would make it viable for us to turn the cameras back on them and use the tool again. We can go back to when we had first lit them off, and we were the first agency in the Valley to get ours on despite being the last agency to sign the contract. Very strange, but basically what it came down to is every flock camera we put up went on a city light pole. Our city's approval process for saying, can this device hang on the pole, was done in a matter of an hour, whereas others took weeks and months to review. And it's really common. Flock told us it's not uncommon for it to take a while. Our engineering department had to look at it and said, no, these are fine. And so we got them turned on right before the Decker case. So that was our first case to use and say that, no, they left town at exactly this moment and did not come back in through that way or across the George Siller Bridge. So he did not come back into town, which is what turned out to be true. Over the course of the months that followed until we turned them off in November, we had many other incidents where we got really rapid recognition of a suspect vehicle or whatever else, or we're able to identify one. And so in the time since November when we turned them off through today, we've had a number of cases where we can look at it. It was a drive-by shooting case back in January, or maybe the very beginning of February. It took us about 4 days to identify a vehicle, where based on where the incident happened, where our known camera locations are, where we eventually found the vehicle, we probably would have had identified within 15 minutes. Doesn't mean it changes the outcome of the investigation or how we go further, but to shortcut that time. From 15 minutes to 4 days, that's a lifetime in your line of work. It can be. If you're trying to chase down a bad guy. And absolutely, depending on the thing that we're trying to interrupt, intercede, or put a stop to, it can be an eternity. I mean, a day can be an eternity. The sooner we get identification of a vehicle can help us lead to better suspect identification and get us to probable cause so that we can either make an arrest when we find somebody or get a warrant issued by a judge. It gives us the opportunity to really move forward so much faster, and especially in a case like this, a drive-by shooting, just because they fired a shot at one place doesn't mean they didn't have the intent to do it other places. And so getting inside that loop and cutting that out and stopping the future events from happening is really useful. Now, in this case, there were no follow-on events, but it took us days to do something that might have taken us 15 minutes. The bill that's on the governor's desk, again, is yet to be signed, would change things unless it's an active criminal investigation or you get a warrant. After 21 days, the images are automatically gone. Yes. They're deleted. And it also has a little caveat regarding public records requests in these things as well, correct? So the existing structure with Flock is 30 days is their default retention. This would change retention to 21 days. I can't remember which state it is. I feel like it's New Hampshire or Vermont. It's 3 minutes. So the usability is a very narrow window. 21 days is totally workable. We had hoped just to have the 30. I think Flock as a company is probably prepared to change the retention. It can't be that difficult from a software side. But yes, the huge part of it is removing the public disclosure request so that the images themselves are not available through the public disclosure process. The impetus for to turn our cameras off was a single public disclosure request that requested every image that had been captured by the system. And so 30 days worth was nominally 7.5 million images from 8 cameras. Do they need to be reviewed and redacted each image? If they do, that's a colossal amount of time. If they don't need to be reviewed and redacted, it's still the volume of data was so large, it took us 4 weeks to determine how to get it flowed through our IT connection. We have extremely solid internet connection provided by a local provider, and never a problem. This volume and duration to bring down this massive pile of what ends up being a single encrypted file takes a long time. So multiple attempts, any interruption would kill the download, and then we don't have it. And then we have to do something with it, and then we have to provide it to the requestor, because that's how a public disclosure law works. It's the way it is, but pretty much impossible to deal with. So the biggest factor for us, aside from a lot of other things that came up, including the UW study, was just that we cannot manage the public disclosure volume of the images. It's just it's unmanageable. It's impossible to keep all that. There's so much to it that we just can't deal with, and therefore it's not financially viable to keep it. It's sad running a police department like a business, but it has to be run like a business. There's only so much budget. There are only so many people. There's only so much time. You have to treat it like a business at some level.
But as a law enforcement tool, it works.
It's phenomenally effective. It works right now. It's one of the single most cost-effective tools we've ever purchased. You can look at, let's use an example. Taser is a great example. It's a less lethal platform that we can reach out and touch somebody about 25 feet away, potentially gain compliance without a significant use of force. It's a wonderful tool. So we just renewed a Taser contract. We're going to pay about $10,000 a year for the next, we're going to pay closer to, no, it's about $10,000 a year for the next 5 years. For this contract. I'm completely wrong. We're going to pay about $50,000 a year.
It still sounds like a bargain to me.
It's a lot. It's about $50,000 a year for tasers, for 55 tasers, for our 48 officers, and have spares and have room to grow within this contract, as opposed to $23,000 for Flock. We can use Flock every single day. We may use Taser 6 times a year. So your cost per use, the business proposition between the cost per use for Taser is very expensive. However, it's a potentially very effective tool that eliminates a potential lethal use of force compared to Flock, which will provide us the information we need to get places really rapidly, and we might use it 1,000 times a year or 10,000 times a year. I have no idea. It'll depend on the flow of investigations and the kind of data.
It's almost like having 8 or 9 extra police officers on patrol. It's part of the metaphor, but
I would say it's more like having 2 extra detectives.
Yeah.
Because you can, it doesn't relieve anything from the patrol officer, but for investigations, it just cuts what might be 4 days of attempting to identify a vehicle and having 4 or 5 people out prowling around and looking for it, and instead to find a license plate immediately, to get a confirmed vehicle through really specific things about the car and say, no, we are highly confident that's the vehicle. Changes it to now we just need to go set surveillance on an individual or set surveillance on the vehicle, determine our next courses of action, work to our probable cause for arrest. But it cuts out investigative time just immediately.
Are they going back on? Are they back on?
They are not back on.
Okay.
We are, as we talked about Danielle in legal review, Danielle's going to look at it. We're going to meet with her and determine our course of action. My guess is, based on everything I see, that they will be coming back on, and hopefully very soon. But again, it requires a signature by the governor with, if there are partial vetoes, that would change it. Depending on how it's codified in our CW, it could look kind of interesting. We may need to make some small policy adjustments, but our cycle time from signed by the governor, reviewed by legal, to being back on should be just a few days. Once we get all the review steps, then we should be able to get it done quickly.
The chief's point is well taken, because the governor does have a line item veto. Here he can veto partial or sections of the bill, but being a former attorney general, my gut tells me that Governor Ferguson is probably going to go as is, I hope. Anyway, who knows? Who knows?
Depending on what was vetoed, it could be good for us. It could be something that would say we don't want to do that. I have no idea what to say about what he might do with this and what his feelings are on it. But when he's spoken to WASPIC each of the last 2 years, he's an advocate for Flock and having usability of it. So I expect it to go.
I would be remiss, Chief, if I didn't ask this. Who has access to the cameras? It's been in the news. Who can look at them? Who can look at the images?
So for us, at the point where we turned them off, it was, of course, our commission staff who were trained, and then the only shares we had set up were law enforcement agencies at the state level or below in Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. Part of what came out of the UW study and raised so much alarm was there were federal agencies that were looking at people's stuff that we had not implicitly shared with. I think we had implicitly shared with the Postal Inspection Service, which is the police department of the federal government. They investigate mail fraud and all that. They're very interesting partners when it comes to certain fraud. It's a different group of people. They're very small, but they have really interesting tools, especially in drug cases and things. They can be very useful. So we pulled back that share, and there was the whole national lookup kind of fiasco. Like, what does national lookup mean? It looks that they can, see that we have a system. No, it meant the federal agencies had access. That's been disabled. And to Flock's credit, they took a lot of information, a lot of concerns from Washington government and made changes to default settings so it no longer defaults upon startup to, like when we first started up, to go to national lookup and these other things that allowed information to go places we didn't realize it was going. So they've made some adjustments that I think will help with that.
One of your predecessors, Tom Robbins, brought in the red light cameras a number of years ago, 20 years ago or so now. There's a red light camera at 5th and Chelan, I want to say. Yep. Mission and Kittitas. Is that about right? I've got to figure it out. Is that going to be ramped up at all? Is it pretty much where we're at now as far as those red light cameras in the city of Wenatchee is concerned? Anything going on there?
I don't see any changes to red light cameras. The one place that we knew we wanted one from the beginning was Maple and Wenatchee Avenue. It's a very high collision intersection. The three intersections, you're correct, 5th and Chelan, Mission and Kittitas, and then Orondo and Chelan, were 3 of our 4 highest collision intersections to have injury collisions, and the collision rate was very high. Putting in the red light cameras did exactly what it was intended to do, which was drop the collision rate. It's dropped well over 50%. It's over 75, I think, especially on Kittitas and Mission, if I recall correctly. But we really wanted Maple and Wenatchee Avenue, but the vendor came out and looked and said, it's impossible. We physically cannot do it with the size, shape of the intersection where poles are and stuff, and it doesn't seem like it's that complicated or special an intersection, but apparently where the physical infrastructure around it is to mount equipment, it just doesn't work. That would be the only one I think we would consider, but we would have to look at collision rates there and everywhere before doing something like that. Additionally, there's changes in state law with reporting and what you have to do for automated camera enforcement systems, which include red light cameras. People talk about speed zone cameras or school zone cameras all the time. The reporting burden has gone way up with the state. And so I don't know that we have a lot of interest in adding any more systems right now. I don't have the personnel mix with time to do the reviews on each violation because the violations aren't automatic. Each one is looked at as a potential violation by a commissioned officer before signing off on yes, it's a violation or no, it's not, based on what we see. And so adding additional systems would add additional burden in that, and I don't see us being in a balance of personnel right now to support additional ones. If we had a super high collision intersection that was causing a problem, say that as we do finish Confluence Parkway, it should relieve traffic and should relieve collisions, but if we created a new high collision area, like if for some reason, and this is probably the least possible example of it going badly, but like the Mega Kittrick at McKittrick and the Avenue, if that turned into a real problem location, then we would have to go back and consider that. But everything that's being done in the North Wenatchee Avenue corridor mitigates collision risk. The reducing the left turns, the significant dividers, the little bit wider lanes, the bigger turn pockets, all of these things make it unlikely that we're going to have the same kind of problems that led to the things before.
Yeah, and of course the traffic will be alleviated a great deal on North Wenatchee Avenue from Denny's all the way out to Walmart for people who have no business. Once Confluence Parkway is open, if you have no business stopping along that 9-block area, you're going to be taking Confluence, and that will lighten up the load.
Ideally, when the entirety of the project, I mean, 4 phases is a lot. We're doing really well on phase 1. We're nearly halfway on phase 1. That's an amazing thing, and it's going to be a huge improvement. But getting all the way to a new bridge over the Wenatchee River and the connect to 97A out in Old Station, when that does occur, right, if you're going to Chelan and you don't want to deal with everything else, you can go over here and have well over a mile without having any stop signs or intersections is a wonderful thing. But it's years away still. The first part, for me, the best thing is eliminating 2 more at-grade crossings. At-grade crossings are not necessarily dangerous from, we don't see a collision rate commensurate with real danger at like Miller and the railroad tracks. We don't see a lot of injury collisions there, but the traffic problems that at-grade crossings create are a nightmare. I feel terrible every time I see somebody sitting on a rondo at the railroad tracks for a train that is likely taking fuel, that is likely going to be there for 2 or more hours, and they just sit there because there's a great big informational sign that says railroad crossing 2 blocks this way. You know, it's the below grade crossing at Thurston, and they don't recognize it or do that. So taking Miller Street and McKittrick off the table, giving 2 more, one overgrade and one undergrade crossing is great.
One more question for Chief Reinfeld before we move on to phase 2 of our conversation. Anything else in the recently closed legislative session from a law enforcement perspective that caught your eye, or was the flock camera about the big issue that was law enforcement related out of Olympia?
There were a number of bills this session that were potentially impactful to law enforcement stuff. Many died in session, died in committee, and did not get voted. The sheriff qualification bill is extremely strange. It affects police chiefs. Like, it would not retroactively affect me as your chief of police, but your next chief of police would have to be potentially approved by the Criminal Justice Training Commission before the mayor could hire. The masking bill about law enforcement and masking, not being able to cover your face, is very odd. There are exceptions in it, and we see it codified, we'll know what it means. We just don't know what it means yet. But this session, thankfully, there are no really large, like, enforceability changes. We've had some things, people may remember, hey, law enforcement officers can't pursue except for the super narrow range of circumstances. That's not working very well. We're going to go back to another place here, and then finally the third time we settled back on kind of go back to the original status quo. We don't see anything like that this session. So it's a relatively mild session for big changes we have to make. From what we understand so far, as we see bills getting signed and see it codified, it may change some more things. We've got policy changes, of course, every year coming out of legislative sessions, but this one doesn't appear to be very large.
Chief Edgar Reinfeld with the Wenatchee Police Department is my guest on today's Wake Up Wenatchee Valley two-parter. So stay tuned. We'll have more with the Chief. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley.
Your favorite local channel is now available for free on your smart TV and connected streaming devices. Watch live programming and catch up with the latest shows on demand. See the local stories that matter to you. NCW Life, now on Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV.
Looks like it's rained just a little bit up Lake Wenatchee way. That was our Nanapoc Ridge camera. Also some light sprinkles and dinkles out there. Well, the sprinkles are outside, and the dinkle you're looking at right now. Going to be very mild today. Freda and Moses Lake almost hit 70 yesterday, and we were pretty darn warm too. And as far as the warmth is concerned, that's going to continue right on through for the rest of the week. We've told you what's going on right now. That huge ridge of high pressure centered just off the Southern California coast. Big dome spins counterclockwise. It's grabbing all that hot air and a little bit of moisture from out in the middle of the Pacific, and it's sending it right into our neighborhood, which is why we have a lingering chance of rain today and tomorrow, and a better than 50-50 chance of rain on Friday with lots of clouds. So here we go from the National Weather Service. Light rain today, hit and miss, nothing big. Partly sunny and a high of about 63. Slight chance of rain tonight. It'll be fairly cloudy in the overnight hours. It's going to keep us warm. We'll have the blanket on, 48 for the overnight low. Tomorrow, chance of rain goes from 30% to 40%, still partly sunny, and still right around 62 or 63 for the afternoon high. Mostly cloudy Thursday night, 47 for the overnight low. No sunshine on Friday, but we're going to get that back over the weekend. So Friday, we have a pretty good chance of rain, especially in the morning. On Friday morning, by Friday afternoon, the rain will be done. We'll top off at about 61, and then here comes lots of sunshine, but cooler temperatures for the upcoming weekend. A little warmer than normal, though, for this time of the year. That's it for us. We'll see you Thursday. Till then, bye-bye.